So learning this piece, Torah Yud, and we're talking about humility, and we're talking about the way to cancel out all the judgments that come to Yisrael is through clapping and dancing. And then we explained that in order for Hashem's name to go out to the whole world, those who are the furthest away have to also say how great Hashem is. This week, when they were reading Yisrael, Ki atu yodati ki godel Hashem mikol Elohim, and the Baal Korah said, and now I know that God is great from all the other idols. I've had this shake. That was the moment of Hashem's greatness, and that's the lead up to Kabbalah Satorah. And then we said that we have to bring Hashem into the world in a way of Yaakov, of a home, and a home is something that you relate to. And until people speak to Hashem in a very relatable way, Mashiach will not yet be here. And our message and our guidance for all of humanity is to help make Hashem a household name. Make Hashem a household name. We should make t-shirts and wristbands, make Hashem a household name. That's right. Those ones. Thank you, Hashem. But Hashem is part of the family. That we talk about Hashem, that we talk to Hashem, that it's something that we relate to. It's not a mountain, it's not a field, it's my home. I feel comfortable in my home. We said that we have to begin to make Hashem very relatable for us and for all of humanity, even the furthest people away. And then we said that the ones who truly understand the secret of davening is the tzaddikim. And so when you come and you see the tzaddikim daven, there's a feeling like they know what's going on. They know. Avram's in the affirmative. Yeah. You just see it, and it's, seeing is believing. And when you experience it, you realize, they know what's going on. And then, God forbid, there are those who are filled with haughtiness, and they don't accept the tzaddikim, or they say that tzaddikim don't really have the direction. We're the ones that you should go to. These are what Reb Nachman calls the false leaders, the false leadership. And they have to be avoided, and we have to actually help them as well. And they spend their time pushing away from the tzaddikim. And we explained that was the bechin of Avi Melech, that Avi, I want Melech, I will be the master. And what did Avi Melech do? He abducted Sarah, like we explained. He abducted Sarah, and what happened to Avimelech? Did it end well for him? Hashem gave him an affliction, and he gave all the women of his home that they became barren as a punishment. And then who had to daven for Avimelech? Avram Avinu, who's the tzaddik. Avram, the tzaddik, because the tzaddik has the power of tefillah. Whatever the tzaddik says, Hashem says, you listen to everything I say, so I'll listen to everything you say. And not only were they all healed, but they were given a bracha, which happened through Avram Avinu, and Avimelech wanted to steal Sarah, who represents the divine presence. She is tefillah, divine presence. Avimelech said, I have Sarah, and Avram Avinu said, no, you don't. She is really on the side of the tzaddik. And we explained that that's what it means. Hashev Eishes Ha'ish. Eishes is Adonai Sifasai Tiftach. And Hashev is Har Sadebayis. That return, that Avram Avinu is returning the awareness of davening, not just as a mountain and not just as a field, but all the way up to a home. Now we're at the part in the Torah that says, Aval Eila Balagaiva. There are those that are Balagaiva. What's Balagaiva mean? Wasn't it so sweet when Simai was always asking for translations to the words? So nice. He spoke to us in English, but I think 80% was Yiddish and Hebrew. My English is a little schwach. But you get it. We all understood what was really going on. 50%. But it's enough that he just looks at you and you see the emes. Those are the real tzaddikim. You get it by the real tzaddikim. So we're at the Torah that says, Eila habalagaiva, but those balagaiva, those haughty individuals, ma'akvin ta'avasai shel Hashem yisborach, They stop that Hashem should not be able to receive the tefillahs of the tzaddikim because they say, don't go to the tzaddik, stay away. Maybe that it's dangerous, or that, bittul Torah, things like this. Stay away from the tzaddik. What are they doing? So long by the dish, We get back to the Beis Medrash. And you have to understand that the tzaddikim are guiding us in a very big way. The aim of action that tzaddikim shespalu aleim, and they don't go to the tzaddikim. Ki choshvin sheisanu v'sigfu es atzman. There are certain people, he's talking about the false leadership, that they do all these fancy things. They do these fasts, and they do all sorts of strange things. Also, some of the leaders of the idol worshippers do all these very weird things, different fasting and different self-flagellation, like, mortification and painting themselves and all sorts of weird things, as in the name of holiness, by doing all sorts of morbid, strange things, because this world is ultimately evil and we have to, do weird stuff to ourselves. And they think, ubezehem tzadikim, and they hold that because we do these funny ceremonies with morbid things, Hashem Yirachim, that now we're the tzadikim, but the real tzadikim are not. Avala emes ein okay, the emes is not, Rav Nachman is saying. Ki kol hatanisim sheisanu, all their fasts and all their weird morbid rituals, ein ze ele kamoisak sheyesh by chayrim harbe, a very interesting mashal that Rav Nachman is going to give. All these false leaders that are doing these funny, weird, morbid fasting and weird stuff. It's like a bag. It's got a lot of holes. When you pour out the bag with all the holes, you pour the bag out, it's got all sorts of, dirty stuff in there. You have a bag that's got some holes in it. When you pour out the garbage inside the bag still got holes. What's Rav Nachman referring to? He's saying that even though that you did all this fasting and you did all these things and you're so to speak emptying out the bag of all this dirtiness, your very bag, your body itself is filled with holes and all sorts of lackings. By pouring out the bag, it's not like you fix the holes. And then Rav Nachman brings a Gemara. The haguf nikosak, your body is called a bag. I don't know if you guys ever realized that. Your body is the sack. It's a funny way to say it. We always talk about how the Tanya teaches you how to learn Rav Nachman. So the Tanya, should I say it? I'll say it. It's shayvim. Some things just have to be said. The Tanya says one of the ways to, he's talking very practically, if a person becomes overwhelmed with a feeling of maybe he should do something immoral with a woman. God forbid we have a married man and he's attracted to somebody, God forbid, and he wants to be unfaithful. Or even a guy who's not married but he wants to do something that's not nice. So the Balatanya gives an advice. At the moment of that passion, where he's feeling like and he knows this will ruin his life. This is horrible. Do not stop. But he can't. He's overwhelmed with the person that he wants to go to, be with. So the Balatanya says, I've got a very good piece of advice. Just imagine at that moment that this very beautiful person is really just a bag of feces. Because that's really what it is. It's a bag and it's filled with feces in there. It takes like a lot of time for it to go through the small intestine and then the large intestine. It's just a sack of feces, more or less, when you distill the whole thing down. So the Balatanya, it's a great way to kill the buzz. It's like, the guy can't get, oh, bag of feces. Okay, I guess, buzzkill. But he said that'll save your life because he only says to employ that. It's like, you jump out the plane, it's like deploy, life vest, raft. You only deploy that technique in cases of emergency where he might go and do something he shouldn't be doing and he's going to regret it. So the Baal Time says, don't worry, just bag of feces. Safe. Save the day. Okay? The tzaddikim are always giving us these key points of advice in times of need. In case of emergency, break glass here. Okay? So Reb Nachman is using this analogy of the body being like a bag, referring to these false leaders, that they do all these funny, morbid things and fasting and stuff, and they're trying to empty out the bag of dirty stuff, but they never fix the actual bag, which is filled with holes. And he brings the Gemara to prove this, that the body's called a bag. The Gemara in Bava Basra, in Shabbos, Kufnan Beis Amud Aleph, Shininas Shari Sakoch. That Shmuel said to Rabbi Yehuda, Shari Sakoch ve'ayal lachmecha. He said, open up your bag, which means your body, open up your mouth, and put some food in there. The body is called this bag there's an opening to open up the bag. So they were speaking together and he used this language of a bag to refer to the body. Now Reb Nachman is also hinting to the fact that the opening is the mouth, which is the place of davening. That these false leaders who are not davening, they say it's all with me, and they don't listen to the tzaddikim. And there's a lot of holes, there's problems, they're not opening their mouth properly. Would they actually look at what they're doing after all of their fasting? If they would take time to be misboinen and to meditate on what they're really doing, they would realize that they haven't, with all their fasting and all their weird things, they're still filled with low desires and not nice things. And therefore, you could have these holy people that do horribly immoral things because they veered away from the tzaddikim. They veered away from the big people. They veered away from the real tzaddikim with the real guidance. And you see so much of what we're talking about is always holding on to the tzaddikim, holding on to the righteous of every generation. And not the false ones, not the fake ones, the real tzaddikim in every generation. And now he's going to mention something else we mentioned in the Tanya. Not only do they have this taiva that stays in their bodies, talking about the Avimelech, the Baligaiva. Ki im gam tavas avim sheyesh etzla mishas ha'ilodam. We mentioned in Tanya that at the moment of the conception, we won't go into this too much now, but the father and the mother give their consciousness as the nefesh, that's an intermediary nefesh between the godly soul and the animal soul. That's what the father and mother give at the moment of conception. And therefore, if that initial conception was not done in a holy way, then there's a residue in the child. Now we mentioned it doesn't matter because Abraham himself came from, and all the great people, the greatest maybe of them all, King David and Abraham, came from all sorts of questionable relationships. And Mashiach himself comes from the most questionable relationships, which we mentioned back in the Mashiach series. But for the future generations, we're trying to give the best for the children. So they're still holding on, these false leaders are holding on to this residue. If these fake leaders would really see what's going on, they would mamish start shaking. They'd be so afraid. They would see that they're mamish standing in a very low level. And our job is we want to help wake up all of humanity. And specifically, these are the ones that are haughty, to be able to tell and have a conversation and help people see that maybe there's something bigger, there's an Avram Avinu out there. Now Reb Nachman in classic form is going to show you a proof of what he's talking about through psukim in the Torah. So we're going to now bring up the part of the Torah narrative where Yaakov has a son Yosef, and Yosef is sold by who?
Brothers.
By his brothers to Mitzrayim. Do you know what they sold him for? The Torah says, Esrim Kesef, 20 silver coins. And even though it's a great thing, you should buy as much silver as you can. Not the stocks. Get the real stuff, my friends. Bars. Not only can you use it as medicine, it's going to be very valuable. Very valuable. Buy silver, the real stuff. But even still, you don't sell your brother for a bunch of silver. So what was going on here? So look at the language of the verse. V'zeh perish vayihi he marikim sakeyem. They emptied their bags. V'hine ish tzror kaspoy b'sakoy. And there was money in the bag. We're going to explain this verse, and we're going to explain the whole. It's going to talk about Binyamin and Yaakov and Shimon. This is going to be the whole next part of this piece until we get to basically where he's going to start talking about how you can then fully get rid of haughtiness, and then he's going to get back to clapping. So just for the next day, half a day, we're going to be focusing in deeply on this section of the Torah narrative, okay? You ready? Look inside. Vayihi hem marikin sakein vehem ish tzora kasbei b'sakei. Acha kol hatanisim. After all of their fasting, shahu harokas hasak. That's called emptying out of the bags. After they emptied out the bags, bechinas haguf, their body, adayin v'hine ish tzora kasbei. Still, a man was holding on to the kesef. He was still holding on to the kesef. Also means kisufin, his desire. The kesef, this is Parsha Shkolim. Shekasha v'tzara kaspoi v'tavasoi b'sakoi v'gufoi. Still, he was holding on to the taiva of the kesef. Even after they emptied the bags, they're still holding on to this desire for taivas, for kesef. The yiris tzroiros kaspeim heina v'avim hainu. Loi died Tzroiros Kaspeim Shu Taivas Atzmam. Not only are they holding on to the desires of their own taivas, Kim Gam Hema Ve'aviem, even the taivas of their fathers. That's what we mentioned, that it gets passed down into the children. Hani taivas Shel Aviem, Gam Hema Loi Naflu Mehem, V'zeh V'yira'u Ki Charad Naflu Aleim. They were afraid. They had this. Only at that point did they really see that, oh my goodness, I'm still, after all the fasting, still talking about these fake leaders, after all the fasting and all the things and all the pushing away the real tzaddikim. And we're not putting fingers on anybody, but there's an idea that this exists in certain people, and there's a problem that we have to teach Avimelech that Avram is the true tzaddik. And we find this over and over in the Torah. Is the Torah dead? Chas v'sham. But it was written thousands of years ago. The Torah is alive. It's being created. The Torah is creating reality every second. When they asked Lubavitcher Rebbe, do you read the news? He said, of course I read the weekly parsha. Of course I read the news. Bereshis Bar Lakim, it's right there. The week is flowing out of the parsha. So if you just learn the parsha, you will know what's going to happen in the world. That's what the tzaddikim could see into the future. They could see everything that's going to happen. It's all in the parsha. The Eila Mishpatim. This week you're going to see a lot of things between interpersonal relationships. Things of business. You're going to see things, contracts, damages, stealing things. Just this week is all right here between people. It's all you'll see. It's all little nuanced things between people, between this. Hey, are you using my pen? Are you allowed to just take somebody else's pen and use it? It's a negligible amount of ink. Yeah, maybe he's makbid, maybe he doesn't want you to. Once you come to yeshiva, you start realizing, you would think that if you see a pen on the table, just use a pen. Or a piece of paper, there's one. A piece of paper, it's somebody's. I just take it. All of a sudden you come here, you realize, whoa, who said? Ve'ela hamishpatim. The Torah is not just this holy thing, it's all the way down here between people. So you'll see this week all sorts of interesting interpersonal situations will come up. Because that's the news, that's what's happening. So would these people see that they're so involved, these leaders that went in the wrong direction, they'd be scared, they'd be afraid, it'd be a big pachad, and Bezrat Hashem, then they would see. And they would give over the leadership to the true tzadikim. And this is what we're trying to, remember, Rabbi Nachman said this Torah right before Purim, when there was a big din that was coming into the world, where they were trying to force the Jews into all sorts of not good things, and to take away Torah learning, and to conscribe into not good things and not good places and immoral things. That was coming in a big way. And Rabbi Nachman was hinting at the way to veer the world in the right direction and to restore the true belief in the tzaddikim as a way of sweetening all the judgment and being able to help all of humanity not to fall into all these serious judgments. So Bezrat Hashem, we're going to pick up at this piece, and I want to move because I want to finish this in the next few days, the whole thing, all of Yud. Finish it. We still have a little ways to go, but I want to mamish move on it, that you see all of Yud, because then he gets into Mordechai and Esther, and I want you to see the whole flow of it. So we're going to mamish move, kedai to come right in the beginning. We'll see it inside. Bezrat Hashem, we should be zeichet to living with the true tzadikim. Amen. Shavua tov.